At 60 years old, she never expected the hardest part of decluttering would be the memories. Not the objects, not the dust, not the boxes, but the memories. For decades, she kept everything out of love, thinking each item protected a piece of her past. She didn't realize how much it all had begun to weigh on her, until the morning she opened a drawer looking for a simple envelope, and instead found 27 birthday cards from decades of life. Some from people long gone, some from people she rarely speaks to now. All of them holding emotions she hadn't touched in years. That was the moment she knew it was time to let go. Before this journey truly begins, she hopes you'll subscribe to Senior Decluttering Diaries, a place where stories like hers find understanding and companionship. The overflowing heart. Her home looked warm and lived in, but time had quietly filled every corner. The hallway cabinet overflowed with her children's school projects. A bedroom drawer stored cards from the past. Boxes sat on the wardrobe untouched for years. For a long time, she told herself it wasn't clutter, it was history. But now, standing in a quiet room with a stack of old cards in her hands, she felt the truth settle in her chest. The items weren't just sitting there. They were asking to be acknowledged, asking to be handled, asking to be felt. She took a deep breath, set the cards aside, and decided she would start today. The first shelf. She approached the corner shelf near the window. A beautiful shelf, but crowded. Photos layered behind other photos. Gifts collected over decades. Little trinkets that once meant something, now gathering dust. The first thing she picked up was a small ceramic bird. Her daughter made it at 8 years old. Uneven paint, crooked wings, cracked base. She remembered her daughter handing it to her with shining eyes, saying she had worked so hard on it. Holding it now, she felt the same warmth she felt then. She set it gently to the side. That one still had a place in her life, but it reminded her of something important. She couldn't keep everything simply because it once mattered. If you've ever held an object like that, something small but emotionally heavy, you can share your own experience in the comments. Someone else might need to hear it. The emotional battleground. Soon, the entire living room floor was covered. Letters, photos, cards, gifts from holidays long past, her mother's old brooch, her father's worn leather wallet. Every item felt important. Every item carried a story. She sat among them and let herself feel the full weight of it. Letting go wasn't about the object. It was about the connection, and the fear, always the fear, that letting go meant forgetting. So she gave herself one simple rule. Keep what still holds value today, not just what held value once upon a time. Slowly, the decisions became clearer. She kept the 3 cards that held real long messages from her children. She released the rest. She kept the photo where her mother laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. She let go of the blurry duplicates. She kept the ceramic bird. She removed the trinkets that meant nothing anymore. And with each decision, her breathing grew deeper, calmer, unexpected treasures. Some items didn't bring sadness or conflict. They brought a sudden, warm wave of memory. She found a letter from her sister, written during a difficult season of their relationship. The words were soft, apologetic, full of hope. She hadn't seen this letter in years. Reading it again made her smile, not ache. Then there were photographs of her younger self, 22 years old, standing in the sun, full of plans she couldn't possibly imagine yet. And tucked between 2 old books was her mother's recipe book. Handwritten, worn at the edges, pages curled from kitchen steam. She didn't need to keep all the recipes. She kept the ones written in her mother's most familiar handwriting, the ones she remembered sharing in their tiny kitchen. She photographed the rest, keeping the memory without the burden. These discoveries didn't hold her back. They helped her move forward.
The liberating release. Hours into the process,
something shifted. The shelf looked clearer. The drawers opened without resistance. The air in the room felt lighter, almost like it had been holding its breath for her. She stood back and realized she didn't miss anything she'd released. Not one thing. The memories were still there, stronger even, now that the noise was gone. For anyone walking through a similar journey, she hopes you'll subscribe to Senior Decluttering Diaries, because decluttering at this stage of life isn't just practical, it's emotional, and no one should go through it alone. The turning points. That night, she sat in her living room with a quiet sense of relief. The space looked the same to an outsider, but to her it felt like a completely different home. She realized how much energy she had spent managing things she no longer looked at. Dusting, moving, storing, ignoring. All of it gone in one day of honesty. She slept easily that night. Deep sleep. Peaceful sleep. Not because the house was cleaner, but because her mind was. The heavy box. A few days later, she returned to finish what she started. One last box waited in the closet. The one she hadn't opened in years. Always meant to, but never had the emotional strength. Inside were letters from someone she once loved deeply. A relationship that didn't end gently. She read a few, not out of longing, but out of closure. The woman she was then didn't exist anymore. The letters didn't remind her of love. They reminded her of how far she had come. She let them go with a steady heart, not out of anger, out of acceptance. Some memories need space to rest. Some chapters don't need to be kept in drawers. A home honest to her life. Day by day, she continued choosing what to keep and what to release. No rushing, no guilt, no pressure to become a minimalist or follow trends. Just honesty. She made room for the pieces that still speak to her. She released the pieces that no longer matched the woman she is today. Her home began to feel aligned with her life, not crowded with the past, not overwhelmed with should-keep items, just her, as she is now. And for the first time in years, she felt proud of the space she lived in, living lightly. Months passed, and she noticed everyday life growing easier. Drawers opened effortlessly. Closets no longer caused a sigh. Shelves felt intentional, not crowded. She didn't feel loss. She felt freedom. She realized she had spent so many years caring for objects that no longer cared for her. Now she had room for the things that mattered. And she hopes anyone feeling the first tug toward their own journey will subscribe to Senior Decluttering Diaries, because decluttering at this stage of life isn't just practical, it's emotional. And no one should go through it alone. The new chapter. As her journey reaches its quiet conclusion, she understands something she didn't see before. Letting go isn't forgetting. Letting go isn't losing. Letting go is choosing peace. The memories stayed. The love stayed. The parts of her story that matter stayed. The only things gone were the weight, the guilt, the fear of releasing old chapters. If you're beginning your own sentimental decluttering or thinking about it, she would love to hear your story. Share in the comments. Your words may help someone who's standing in front of their own overflowing drawer, wondering where to begin. She steps back into her home now with certainty, clarity, and peace. A house that reflects her present, and a future finally free to breathe.